Thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining us tonight. You are with the National Black Nurses Association Real Talk on Mental Health and Resiliency. I'm your host, Mo Menard, and I'm excited to be the moderator for this webinar. It's co-hosted by the National Black Nurses Association and blackdoctor.org, proudly sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. During the webinar, you may place all of your questions, any of your questions, right in our chat. Then we're going to have an engaging conversation and a robust discussion on resiliency. I have the pleasure to introduce to you four amazing, oh man, I don't even know how, when I think of these women, I think of visionaries, pioneers, definitely trailblazers. Oh, nothing short of innovation. They will be joining us for this great discussion that we're going to have. Let's go ahead and tell you a little bit about our panelists tonight. You know, when you start to talk about people and you embrace who they are and to what they have contributed, it just makes you smile. So let me tell you just a little bit about our first panelist. Chandra Brown is an executive director of Lifelines Counseling, and it is a United Way multi-service, a nonprofit organization. Lifeline Counseling Services provides crisis, emotional, financial, and housing counseling and education to community members in Southwest Alabama. Oh, shout out to Alabama, all my family's there. She actually became the executive director in 2005. She is a graduate of McGill-Tulane High School and an inductee into the McGill-Tulane Hall of Fame. Chandra is the co-founder of the Society of Clotilda, a joyful health and wellness collective that is dedicated to the celebration, development, and prosperity of Black women and their children. She also serves as a board trustee for the University of South Alabama. She serves as a regional advisory for the BB&T Bank and serves as past board president for the Alabama Coalition Against Rape. I could go on and on about Chandra, but when we get to talking, you'll see why she is who she is. Our second panelist, another brilliant mind, Jessica Norwood. And Jessica was named to SM Magazine's 50 Entrepreneurs to Watch. So again, it goes back to what I said, innovators, trailblazers, don't be surprised. She is the founder of Runway, which uses entrepreneurship as a strategy to challenge wealth inequity by providing investment capital, often referred to as friends and family capital, or what Jessica calls believe in your money, into African American people of color led companies nationwide. Wait till you get to hear from Jessica. I know she will not disappoint us at all. Next panelist. Yay, there they are. You can go ahead and wave. Chandra and Jessica, thank you, thank you. Our next panelist, Dr. Nicolette, and I love her last name. I wanted it to be mine. Lewis Saint, PhD, serves as executive director and president of Healthcare Ready. This is a 501c3 organization that focuses on strengthening the United States healthcare. And we know we need that, right? Supply chain preparedness and response before, during, and after natural disasters and disease with pandemics. After assuming the leadership role in 2017, Nicolette ensured the organization's ability to establish strategic public-private partnerships, okay, and serve as a critical linkage point for the end-to-end supply chain and government partners at the federal, state, and local government levels. She, too, is another brainiac, coming in with a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering and Biological Sciences from Carnegie Mellon University, a PhD in Pharmacology and Molecular Sciences. If I could only have a corner of her brain, oh my goodness, how did we get so lucky to be in your presence? Please help me welcome Nicolette. Our last panelist is Rashida Hatchett, and she is a Seattle native and registered nurse working with the area's geriatric population. And we can't ever, in nursing stress the importance of our geriatric population. She is also a resilience coach, and we know we need those, okay? And burnout prevention strategist. Now, did you hear what I said? Burnout prevention strategist, helping nurses and healthcare organizations to build resilience and thrive. I'm Mo Menard. I'm not doing my own bio. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to get into some good discussion. Enough about that. Ladies, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I am just so proud and honored to be in the presence of greatness in this manner. I am so humble, humble, humble. I just want to start off. We're just gonna have a little bit discussion. We're just gonna kind of kick it, about this word, right? And I think that resilience is a magical term, right? And so let's just talk about when you all identify when resiliency starts with all of the different things that are going on around us, in front of us, behind us, on the sides of us. Where do you all think that resiliency starts? I'm gonna go ahead and tap into Chandra first. Chandra, what are your thoughts on that?
I think when does resiliency start? Like I think we're already resilient, right? We've had like the toughest year that we could possibly imagine. So we didn't just have a world pandemic. We also had civil unrest. We also had stuck at home with our families and unearthing issues we never thought that we would earth. And I think like we survived that year. We're resilient. Like we made it. We have the skills that are within us to make it through. Um, yeah. What are your thoughts, Jesse?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, resiliency. I think the part about resiliency for me that's really important is it really talks about coming through difficult conditions. And as Chandra just said, this past year we all know has been the most trying and difficult. But I think about Black women who we're all assembled here as Black women, and particularly our nurses. I'm the daughter of a nurse. When I think about the resiliency that I see in my Black mother, who is also a nurse, I really understand generationally the level of resilience that's already sort of stored inside of us, inside of our DNA. So on one hand, I want to sort of raise a light to the idea that we were particularly resilient in the past, year, but we come from resiliency, right? We wouldn't be here if we weren't resilient. So it is our birthright to be resilient. And I think the through line to that is, why are the conditions always so toxic, so difficult, so hard for us? That requires that level of resiliency.
Do you think it's an expectation? Would you guys say that it's an expectation with resiliency? I tap into that because you stated that it's generational, right? Our mothers are resilient, our fathers are resilient, our mothers and fathers are resilient. And if you look at it and how you just go back, like you said, generationally, would you say that there is an expectation to be resilient?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would say that there's an expectation. I don't think that we have what we understand as Black excellence today without an expectation of resiliency. I come
Yes.
from a family who really understood that while the conditions were beyond, difficult, that we were still expected to do our best, to show up as our best, to give our best to one another and for ourselves, and that we always had in mind that there would be a tomorrow. We planned for, we loved each other. We built our communities inside of the understanding that we would survive. So I do believe that we have an expectation of resiliency in our communities. Absolutely. And the proof is here of us being.
But I think a weakness is a strength overdone, right? So I think that we fall into that myth so many times of being a strong Black woman. And we over-identify with it. Like we teach our little girls, like, you're strong, you're independent, this is what you're supposed to be. And because we so identify with that, like how many years did we all think we were strong Black women up until yesterday? Until I had a breakdown and I realized I am not strong. Right? Until I had to unidentify with that. Because like the second I can unidentify is the second I think you truly find your resilience. Is the second that I learn that I'm vulnerable. Is the second that I realize that I feel. Right? So I think it's cool to have that and to identify with that. But if we over-identify with it, it causes our own destruction.
You know, Rashid, I see you shaking your head. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts? What are you thinking? Where does it start?
Well, I think resilience, is absolutely something that innately is in us. There are
Mm,
coping mechanisms and lessons that we've learned and things that we've been taught that have been passed down that give us that, yeah, I can get through this. Yes, I can make it through this thing. And of course, as Black people and as Black women, there isn't one thing that has come to us that we haven't gotten through. So the proof
mm,
is in the pudding on that. Like, we've been and gotten through
mm, mm,
everything that's ever been tossed at us, from slavery, to watching our children being ripped away from our homes and ripped away from us. We have gotten through Jim Crow. We have gotten through every single bit of adversity that has come our way. We
mm,
need to figure out how to make it through, and not just to make it through, but we thrive on the other side of it. So certainly, resilience starts with what's inside of you and the lessons that you're taught and the lessons that you learn, but you also have to cultivate that thing in order for it to keep going, because as we move through life, our need for one coping skill or another changes. We got to dip into that toolbox and figure out, what do I need to pull out of there in order to get me through this one? Because it's not necessarily going to be the same thing as what got me through the last.
Oh
Mm.
yeah. Did you? And you're a carpenter because you just mentioned going into the toolbox. Nicolette, talk. Let's talk about the toolbox. We I think we all can agree because I see the head shaking. So I know that means we stand in agreement. So
Mhm.
what does that look like when you tap into that toolbox? What does that mean? How do you just tap in?
So I think there is a difference between resilience as a requirement versus
Mm.
resilience as an asset.
Oh,
And I think, when we're talking about the ways we've been defining resilience, we're talking about it from the evidence-based vantage point of, we've been required to be resilient. And because we've been required to be resilient, we can look and say, well, we made it. And the truth of the
yes,
matter is, some of us have, some of us haven't.
Yeah.
yes,
Some of us are limping to the finish line and broken.
yes.
But that's resilience as a requirement. I think resilience as an asset is when it's in the toolbox. The idea that you can make a choice that you show up in this way, or that you're digging deep and you're saying, okay, this is how I'm going to bounce back.
Yeah.
Um, One of my favorite bloggers yesterday posted that she had 13 years worth of data that was critical for her business. You saw that when Lovey posted that, and gone. So sis took a vacation, right? And over the course of her taking a vacation, there was an email that she wasn't able to open, and 13 years of data was gone. And the resilience in that is, she is able to say, well, look at everything that I've built. Can I celebrate the fact that I'm resilient enough to bounce back from this, that I don't need this in the same way? Devastating, but I can bounce back. That's the asset. The requirement is when your survival depends
Mm,
on it.
mm,
So to me, the toolboxes, there are a lot of things that we should be able to bring to our communities, ourselves, our society, where
absolutely.
resilience is a part of it. It's
Mhm.
with vulnerability. I don't think they should be separate, as Chandra was saying. It's with our compassion, with our innovation, with our empathy, but also in exchange for all of those things, as we're defining traits that we're normally pushing out. I think there's some questions about what needs to be pushed back in order for that resilience to survive.
Can I ask you ladies this? Why do you all think, especially as women of color, Black women, African American, whatever you identify as, Asiatic, whatever you identify as, why do you all think that our response, even when we're not okay, is I'm okay? Do you think that that is that part of resiliency that lies within us that we naturally just say, I'm okay? You're not though, right? Because hey, Rashida, how you doing today? I'm okay. No, Rashida could have been going through, people don't really want to know how you doing. If you be like, well, If you want to know, my gout is flared up. I owe back taxes. One more thing, and my car got
Right.
repoed. I mean, but we be ready.
Right.
We like, I'm good. I'm okay. Why do we do that, ladies? Why? I couldn't wait
Well,
to ask you all that. Why do we do that? Nicolette, go ahead. Why do we do that?
sure. I think there are a few reasons. One of them is not trusting or knowing that people would know what to do with that honest answer. I think there are a lot of
Mm,
times that we ask, how are you? And it's performative. It's, I'm going to talk to you about, all of the things on my plate for an hour. And I need to say, how are you? Because otherwise this isn't balanced. So I need to throw that in there, right? But it's performative. It's not actually an earnest question that is rooted in, I really want to understand how you are. The
yes.
other thing
Yes.
is, honestly, sometimes you don't have the bandwidth to, I'm gonna list it all out for you. What do you like?
Mhm.
What I think so many women who are in the middle of doing the things that they don't want to have to do, that they have to fight through, that they have to figure out, are sitting there going, I don't have the time to list it out for you. And what are you going to do with that information when I list it out for you? I don't have the time to have a good cry. I don't, the things that I need aren't necessarily rooted in me telling you the honest answer of how I am. Maybe there's a
Yes.
different question. How can I
Yes.
support you?
Yeah.
What do you
Yes.
need today?
Thank
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the
Go
things
ahead,
that
Chandra.
oh, we're gonna
Go
do
ahead.
Oh, well, I was thinking, when Nicolette was saying that, I think another reason is also like we we wear the mask, right? Like everything has to be okay. If I take a moment to breathe and realize that it's not, I'm going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And if I fall apart, who's going to pick me back up? Because I don't have space for that. Too many people depend on me. Too many people need me. I just have to, like what Nicolette was saying, I just have to keep moving. Like I'm in the middle of doing the thing. I don't have time to have a breakdown. So I can't let you see. And that's again us subscribing to that strong Black woman myth.
Well, I was just going to talk about, again, Rashida talked about changing up what you have in your toolbox. And then Nicolette really talked about the importance of vulnerability. Chandra said the same thing. So inside of the space of resiliency, I think the pathway to resiliency requires a level of vulnerability. And what
Oh,
I notice, particularly around Black folk and Black women specifically, is that aren't very accustomed to being vulnerable, and we
mm,
haven't stretched that muscle exactly. And even when times aren't dark, we
yes.
haven't stretched that muscle. And I think it's
Yes.
something that you have to actually practice telling your story and using your voice so that when you get to the place where you've had it up to here and you can barely even say anything else, you've got some tools inside of that toolbox that help you to articulate what's happening with you. And more importantly,
Yes.
you think of that as a part of what makes you resilient versus what makes you weak. And I think that's what starts to happen is that people start to imagine, if I tell you my story and what's going on, it turns me into weak. It turns into some level of weakness, when in fact, it is the vulnerability that then enables the resiliency.
Oh, did you see that, Rashida? Did you hear when she said,
Yeah.
see, no, I'm tapping into those key words, right? Because what we're doing in this discussion tonight is dropping nuggets of wisdom. And
Mhm.
you went like super deep on us because you said pathway, the pathway to resiliency, right? So when you say pathway, what does that do? That triggers journey. Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Rashida, what do you say to that? What do you think about that? I know y'all like, wait a minute, she going off script a little bit. I am. Do you know why? Let me tell you why. Because I'll prepare, I'll have questions ready, I'll do whatever the guests like. But when I feel that energy flowing and it gets to moving, I'm going with it. And so,
Yeah.
Rashida, I want you to chime in and talk about that pathway a little bit. Would you agree that the pathway really is the journey with resiliency?
Absolutely, absolutely. For all of us, the testimony is in the journey. Being
Mm,
able to use what you've gone through to help somebody else after you make it to the other side is about the journey. If you don't journey through anything, you don't have anything to share. And one of the big things about resilience is passing on what you've gone through, how you made it through, and then how you're doing in your next, when you're at that next level, when you're at that next place, how are things going and how are you doing? I think so often as we talk about, resilience and why we don't feel the level of comfort, it really is steeped in fear, why we're not comfortable sharing with people where we're at. It's a fear response. Many of us have shared and it turned out a way that we weren't expecting. We were hoping for support and we got criticism. We were hoping for empathy and we got sarcasm. We were hoping for somebody to say, I got your back. And what we got was somebody to say, that's not really all that important. Why is that a concern for you? Why are you so worried about that? You need to just pick up yourself by your bootstraps and move on. And we decided from that point that nobody understands me or understands my journey. And so I have to keep that to myself. And we do that out of fear. And so as we go on this pathway of resilience, because like I said earlier, resilience is something that can be cultivated. It's about collecting tools that you can use for that next thing that comes your way. And so as we move through this journey of I'm adding to my toolbox, I am becoming a more resilient person, I am practicing resilience every single day. We get to this place of understanding that the fear that we're feeling and that we're walking in and we're using on a day-to-day is one of those things we have to let go of because it's no longer serving us. We're finding ourselves burnt out and overwhelmed because we're afraid to be honest and say, no, I can't take that on. No, I can't answer that call. No, I can't do that thing. No, I can't be in that place.
Oh my
and
goodness.
As you begin to walk in resilience and say, you know what, I am going to make some boundaries. I'm going to sit with my value system and say, this is what's important to me. As you begin to do that, you begin to free yourself from these areas of overwhelm and burnout.
Now listen, Nicolette, did you hear what she said? Because listen, y'all are this group right here is, I don't want to say gangster, but this group is just great. Okay. Nicolette, did you hear what she said about fear? Out of fear?
So
I guess, it's what are we thinking about that? Because when we talk about fear, we're worried about the judgment associated with honesty, right? Go ahead,
So I
Nicolette. I'm
think
sorry.
one of the things that we have to be honest about is that everyone needs a soft place to land. And sometimes fear is justified, and I say sometimes. I will never say move in fear, that's not the justification that I'm offering. But sometimes fear is rooted in, I know you can't handle the fullness of my truth. I know you can't handle the fullness of my vulnerability. And whatever that reason is, it is founded and it is valid, but that also means at some point there needs to be a safe place for that person to land. And I think that's a part of this journey. And as Rashida is talking, I'm sitting here thinking, as I've gone on that journey myself, how many relationships are on the other side of my boundaries? How many decisions have I had to make in the interest of myself that didn't land in places or on ears that people would say, well, that was really mean. It wasn't mean. The intention was pure. The love is still there. But I need you on the other side of this boundary because I have to choose me, because you cannot be a soft place for me to land in this moment. Taking it to COVID, I'll be very personal. We've all experienced COVID. There's no question. But for those of us who've been responding to COVID in various ways, it has not just been living through the pandemic. It's been navigating and understanding the ways, the places, the programs, the changes that we've had to implement in order to shift. There's not been a choice to step away. And I think that's especially true for the Black women who have been serving in some response capacity throughout the duration. And so when I have personally said to people, I don't know if I have it for hurricane season, and I know I don't have a choice but to have it, but I'm saying I'm scared. I
Oh,
am
yeah.
worn. And I've heard responses from people who would tell you that they love me and they're supporting me. I've heard, we've all been going through COVID. We've all been dealing with it. And that's that negation that says, you are not the soft place for me to land. And I, at that moment, have to make a choice. Am I going to value being heard in the right space more than I value not hurting this person's feelings? Am I going to risk invalidating the things that I know are very true for me in this moment of vulnerability because this person can't receive it? Or am I going to make the decision that's in the best interest of me and say, okay, this is done. You're on the other side of this boundary, but I'm going to find a space where I can be supported because, like I said, I don't have a choice but to make it through hurricane season, but to make it through wildfire season. So I have to continue to choose the things that will allow me to do that.
Well, I know you all aren't going to believe this, but we are halfway through the show, and that right there just broke my own heart. So I want to just move over to talking a little bit about how do we practice and apply, right? Practice, application. How do we practice and apply resiliency in our daily lives, our daily routines? What does that look like, Jessica? I am going to come to you to start this one because, for the viewers out there, I'm not seeing if y'all looking at this whole ensemble she got on with the high hat she's rocking, and she's just super fabulous. So I want you to kick us off with this one. How do we practice and apply resiliency in our daily lives?
It's a great question, and y'all are too kind for the shout out to the hat. Thank you. For me, this point around practicing and applying resiliency, I think when I started thinking about this panel, I thought about my mother, who I mentioned, who is a nurse, was a nurse, and very early on, unfortunately ended up getting COVID and forcing her into an earlier retirement. And a couple of months after that, she runs and wins successfully a seat on city council. So now she's my councilwoman, no longer just my nurse. But why I shared that particular story, because when I was preparing for this, I asked her, how did you make this pivot in this really, really difficult moment? And she talked to me about at the period of time where she was praying to God to please help her to make it through. And she said that when the fevers and everything broke, and she had this very intimate conversation with God, she made a decision and she said, God, I still want to serve. And it reminded me so much just the beyond the profession itself, the heart of service, and finding another way and another place to still be in service. And I think that particular resetting or pivoting and moving and watching her do it, as an older woman, as a woman who has 40 plus years in a career that she has enjoyed, but to find this moment, I think that was a chance for me as a woman to watch another woman move into a place of resiliency. And I kind of took her lead and thought, you know what? Now is the time for me to recast where I am going with my life and what I am doing. And so mid-pandemic, I did the best that I could and relocated to a place where I felt more at home, where it was warmer, where it fit. Because if I was going to be stuck in the house, I wanted my house to actually be beautiful. I wanted places and things that I saw to be wonderful. And I had spent so much time at that point in my life on planes, traveling, doing this, doing that, that my house my actual place of respite wasn't actually what it needed to be. It was some old thrown away crackers and some stuff in the refrigerator that was, half eaten, but it wasn't really home. And I had a chance to reimagine who I was in this moment. And I think it's such a critical point to the conversation about resiliency and what I got from my mother, at this point in her life, to say, I'm going to reimagine this, even coming through such a really, really difficult and dark time for her and for our family, and say, at the end of this, what matters to me is I still want to be in service. How do I want to show up in service?
Oh, yeah, I love that.
It was a powerful moment of resiliency for me.
You know what? I love that because she had this big shift in her life, and she had, again, right? Salvation is personal. So her conversation with God really ain't none of our business, but she was, nice enough to share with you, right? And to hear her say, I still want to be of service, that right there can definitely stand in support of someone in their journey with resiliency. Chandra, talk to us about it. What does that look like? The practicing and the application of just using it in our daily lives.
I've been reflecting, like, while you guys have been talking, on Nicolette saying that is resilience a requirement or an asset, or Rashida when she talked about like when you get to a point that you need a new coping skill, and what does that look like? And I started thinking, when we start feeling anxiety or depression, that means it's time for a new coping skill. And so, like, it's hard for us to tell you, like, what coping skill you should change. So what have you done up until that point? So maybe you just worked harder. Maybe I just put my head down and I did, whatever. And so maybe it means now it's time for you to rest. Yeah. It's time to absolutely and completely, like, how can I learn a new coping skill if I'm exhausted?
Sure.
And I think that's one question that we often don't think about or deal with. And I'm a recovering person, so I can talk about that a lot. Like, how do I build rest into what I do every single day?
Sure.
And so does that mean giving yourself a little bit more structure, saying that, all right, I am going to go to bed at this time. And what do I have to do to make sure that I get a good night's rest? Like, we all brag about, ooh, girl, I only got 2 hours of sleep. Me, ooh, I only got 1. No. You need like 8 or 10.
Right.
Where you are, you might need more. But really starting to, like, what does it look like to truly invest in yourself? And not like, I'm gonna do a massage, or I'm gonna get my nails done, but like truly invest.
Yes.
Like, what does it look like when I actually eat certain things? What does it feel like? What does it look like when I actually get not just one night's sleep, like a week, 2 weeks, a month, just move forward? Who will I be if I actually intently say, all right, I need to walk 30 minutes each day? Because I've seen what happens when I don't. Like, I have folks in my family that struggle with diabetes and high blood pressure, and at the really bad end of it, when their skin goes bad, or when they're, they need so much more extra wound care and help. And it begins to think like, so do I want that to be me in 20 years? And if I don't, what do I backtrack and need to start doing now so that it's not? And I think it's really taking moments to reflect, to see, like, who do I want to be? Do I want to be this person that's working this hard every single day? Or do I want to be someone who gets to take some time and pick beautiful flowers, to create wonderful spaces, to have plants hanging in my house, to have lavender in my bathroom? Like, who is it that I truly want to show up as? And I think that's a tougher question to really grapple with.
You know what, Chandra, when you just said that, I remember a therapist has shared, and I thought this was profound, right? I can't remember if the presentation was about self-care or something like that. And she said, getting your nails done, to women, right? Because the audience was all women. She said, getting your nails done, getting your hair done, getting a massage, that is not self-care. She said, you do that anyway. That's an activity of daily living for you. So stop.
It's hygiene.
Yep, thank you. And she said, right, Nicolette. And that's what she said. You already do that. So don't brag to me, right? Like you just said, Chandra, I got 2 hours of sleep. She said, don't brag to me about how you didn't miss your hair appointment. Don't brag to me about you getting your nails done. That is not taking care of yourself in the manner that we should devote to. Nicolette, come on now, tell us about it. what do we do? How do we do it? Practicing and applying resiliency daily. I know you about to go just drop the mic now before you speak, because I already know it's about to be, come on.
No,
Come on.
I think everything Chandra said is absolutely true. So I can say what I personally do. Sometimes those are decisions about who I do or do not meet with or speak to. Um, I have started very honestly communicating with some of my staff about where my bandwidth is on a particular day. There are days I just don't have it. And I will say that. And so what that means is don't try all of my patients and then be surprised when you're at the end of it, right? But that also means there are meetings and spaces that I just can't do today. And I need you to carry that. And I've trained you, so now I need you to carry that. But that also means for me, like I build in time into my schedule to work out. And so for me, at the top of the week, I'm looking at when will I have time? And if that means that I need to start a little bit late and I need to get that 7:30, 8 a.m. workout in, then that's what needs to happen. If that means I need to step away at 5:30 because if I wait too long, I'm not going to be able to do it in the evening, that's what needs to happen. So for me, part of it's been discipline and structure. It's been really, really focusing on radical self-awareness. Taking care of myself and creating spaces. I bought a whole house in the pandemic. I was like, I'm going to be at home. I need a space that I love. I don't feel like I need to escape to a hotel because I love my home and I love the space that I'm in. But that was a decision that I could afford to make. And I do not take the privilege of that lightly. And so I think part of this is it is the lavender in the bathroom. It is the dinner I just really want to make. I just want to eat good food, but I do not count things like nails getting done, hair getting done, a facial, a massage. Those are things that you do for your hygiene. So I don't count that, but I do count the fact that there are candles and plants in every room in my house.
Yes.
I do take 5 minutes to pray at the top of the day, and I also take 5 minutes to meditate. Those are two different things, and they feed me in two different ways. There are a lot of times where in that practice of self-awareness, I step away and I may need to meditate, or I may need to ask my higher power for some things because I'm depleted in that moment. So those are the ways that I try to build it in, and it works for me. But even with that, I feel depleted.
Yeah. Are you going to walk off now? Are you going to walk off the stage? Because you did exactly what we thought you would. Radical self-awareness. So go ahead. Thank you.
Radical self-awareness.
I know. I mean, really. Rashida, what do you do? Talk to us about it. The application and practicing resiliency daily. What do you do?
I think that it really starts with assuring that what you're doing is promoting self-discovery. So if you have decided that the thing that you're doing is your nails and your hair, there's no self-discovery in that. So that's not self-care.
Right.
Self-care is really about learning you, being present with you, so that when you get ready to do what you do, you're teaching other people that this is who I am because I know who I am. I know how I want to show up, and I'm showing up that way because I've done this work to discover who I am. So that when I get into a room, I don't shrink. When I get into a pickle, I don't fold. I'm still here and I'm present in my discovery of who I am. I know who I am and I stand firm in that. So if you're deciding that, man, like I need to up level my resilience, you need to start picking things that are going to be about self-discovery. As women, so often we wake up one day and realize we don't know who we are.
Yes, absolutely.
We have raised children and been somebody's wife and been someone's everything in the job. We've done all this stuff and we don't know who we are. We don't know what we like. We don't know what we dislike because we've been so accustomed to managing and giving everywhere else that our needs always went to the back. So in this state of Lots is happening around us. There's all this stuff that's going on. It is more important now than ever to discover who you are, what your needs are, and begin to fulfill that. Because nobody on the outside of you can fulfill the needs and fill you up. That is an internal work that you have to do, which is why there are people that walk around and life is crumbling and they are as happy as a lark. And you were trying to figure out what is happening. It's because they've discovered inside themselves what they need to be full.
Yeah.
And they practice that
Yeah.
so that they stay full.
Yeah.
And what happens outside, though it affects them, it doesn't break them.
Right.
It doesn't change them in a way where they present to be something different than what they want to present as. So we've got to get to this place where our self-care practices, we stop talking about hygiene and we really start talking about personal development and what that looks like and how we discover ourselves and how we get to know ourselves in a way that is so intimate and beautiful that we're able to show up and the outside world can see that we are different and we are changed because we've decided that we are going to stand in the audacity of who we are and love us with everything we have because we've decided we know who we are and we know who we want to be.
So I guess my question now is why do I feel like I am at a big like revolutionary ceremony and I can't stop saying yes. Oh yeah, that's true. Yes, like, because your statements are so factual. I know that they are coming from a subjective point of view because it's your point of view, but there is nothing that you are not saying that does not hold fact to it, right? And so now I think we'll walk away, and I think the audience will walk away with, again, what I said, these nuggets. You dropped a self-awareness, right? Self-discovery. It's really, I don't think there's really no words to describe it, because when you talk about how you stated the audacity, right? And audacity, when you just think about the word in this altruistic fashion, it really is authenticity, right? And organic, right? Because audacity, don't go there, don't do it. Let me come on. Go, Nicolette. I want to just ask you, how do we, right? How do we take it out to our organizations and on an organizational level to cheer on resiliency? And I'm not just talking about in the word sense, right? I'm not, because it's easy to say, well, they're resilient. Babies are resilient. The nurses are resilient. The doctors are resilient. The staff is. It's easy to say that, but what does that really mean when you talk about taking it into different organizations and everywhere? How do we get it out there, right? Because I think you said something earlier that was very important about in the peak parts of the pandemic, how we were navigating, right? Because we just didn't know. So how do we take it there, Nicolette? What do you advise? What strategies can we apply to bring resiliency into organizations everywhere?
I am back. I don't know what happened, but I'm back. My internet is resilient as well. So I did hear the question. I think for me, this goes back to the earlier parts of the conversation where we talked about how we've had to show up as resilient humans, women. I think it starts with, at the organizational level, having leaders and holding leaders accountable for recognizing humanity. And what I mean by that is, if we are recognizing that people are human, we can celebrate the fact that they are human and have resilience, but not force them to have to rely on that resilience day in and day out. It's creating environments where people can be in the fullness of who they are. Whether that is, I'm having a great day, I'm not having a great day. One thing that's really important to me as a person, as a leader, I'm not that person that every time you see me goes, I'm amazing. Because some days I'm not. Some days I don't feel that way. But if we are faulting people for their moments of humanity, for their moments of honesty, if we're not really checking in on our teams, if we're not building cultures, especially in healthcare, where we are normalizing the idea that you do not have to be okay, and it is our responsibility to hold you up in those moments, and that you can be human enough to both be professional and human, to have needs and be excellent at what you do,
Yes.
that there can be space for that in a way that allows for us to collectively move forward and thrive. And again, not requiring that someone diminish themselves or diminish their needs in an effort to be a professional or to operate in these spaces.
Absolutely.
Rashida,
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
absolutely. So, I teach the power of organizational resilience, and everything that Nicolette is talking about is really the tenets of how you create an organization that is resilient. Yes, people are resilient within themselves, but if you've got policies and procedures and leadership that is not practicing resilience, that is not steeped in a culture of resilience, you are going to wear down all the resilience that these folks have to want to stay and work for you. You've got to be in a place where your organization is really looking at all of the things that help people stay with you, and whether or not those things are occurring in a way that promotes that resilience, that promotes we can get through this together. But if you've got leadership that's like, oh, this is your responsibility, you didn't get it done, and there's all of this, shame and guilt and really, going after people instead of trying to build them up, you're going to have a place where this is not a healthy place to be. So you have to start as an organization looking at your benefits packages, your wellness packages, what your leadership looks like. Have you brought in somebody to go through all these things and say, what do your policies and procedures look like? One of the big things that we talked about during COVID on the organizational level was people are getting 3 days of bereavement. Well, that wasn't cutting it during COVID. 3 days of bereavement is insane in the first place. Just put that out there. 3 days of, oh, you're off and now you're back to working well, and your mother just passed, or your child just passed, or someone you just happen to love that may be, a family member that you created, not one you were born with, has passed. And now you're supposed to come back to work and function really well, the same way that you were before the bad thing happened. And we're saying, yeah, we gave you 3 days. Like, what's the problem? Right? So looking at things like that to say, does this actually serve the people that I'm serving? Because once you're in leadership, it's not about the customer. It is about your team. Do these things serve my team? And if they don't, and they're not working, we have to look at those things to revamp them, to go, this isn't working. This doesn't help my team to move forward. It's not building this cultural resilience that I need to build so that people want to stay here. And this is a healthy place for them to stay and be.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, Chandra and Jessica. What are you guys? Where are you on that?
Yeah, one of the things that really resonated with me, both Nicolette and Rashida mic drops all the time. I think that piece around humanity, and I work with businesses and companies all the time, and one of the things that I think is so important to name that's outside of this individual resiliency, but lands squarely at organizational resiliency or the overall culture of resiliency within the workplace. I think what we have done inside of COVID, and we've got to take some different level of ownership and conversation around this, is that we've really pushed in a really unhealthy way a conversation in a particular place with between employees and employers and what it means around our humanity. We've asked people to do a lot of things on behalf of making a dollar that completely goes against who we might be internally, who we thought we were as an institution, who we thought we were as a body politic, as a people, broadly. and we've not had a real meaningful conversation about those things. And so I think in order to get to a place where we're talking about how institutions start to build more resiliency, I think they're going to have a real conversation about the breach in relationship that has happened, the fracture in relationship between the people who work with them and their shareholders and whomever they are responsible, who else they think they're responsible to, because something fell apart that has not been repaired inside of the economy and inside of how we treat one another, what we expect the exchange is between when I go to work and I know I'm supposed to come to work and I'm going to do a job and you're going to give me this check, but I did not come to work for my life to be on the line in this way. I did not come to work for you to just kind of push it aside and just, that is an important relationship between the two entities, myself and the people who I work with, that has fallen apart. And it didn't just fall apart, it fell apart everywhere in lots of different ways for lots of different people. And so I think resiliency, and the good part about this, the opportunity in this is that it opens us all up for a larger conversation that moves us past this idea of productivity that sits inside of an economic consumptive sense and moves us more into who we really need to be, how we need to show up for one another. What does it mean to be in right relationship and care inside of this particular institution? So while it has created a huge gap, I think it also opens us up to a huge conversation that I think should move us forward into a different level of humanity that happens inside of our workplaces.
All right.
Yeah.
Chandra, you want to go ahead and give it to us? Because we got one more question with 7 minutes left.
Okay. I think it's important in these times to consider, like, what can we create? So there may be spaces and organizations, maybe we're not at the tippy top of it, maybe we manage a small team. So with that group, like, what can you create within that organization? How can you show that group of people a certain level of humanity that they need? I mean, I don't know, like Jessica and I are in Alabama. I don't know where y'all are, but it was, okay, it's COVID. And they're like, no, it's not. Everybody outside, bye. So like, how can you create a space of transition for the people that you're with? How can you create a beginning, a middle, and an end so that they can have some type of normalcy in a space that's so not normal? And then I think, the final thing is that Jessica and I got together and created like an organization, and not organization, but loosely, I don't know, a collective, Society of Clotilda. And we created it before COVID because we were really interested in what would it look like for the end to be the beginning, right? So doing public health programs, we usually we put some things in place and it's evidence-based and we go through the end and we have our solution. We said, well, what would happen if we started with joy? What if we worked Black women and came from a space that we want you to have joy, we want you to feel love, we want you to feel, the light that we connect with God to be every single day. Like, what would that be? And so we started it from that space. And so just kind of listening to you guys talk, I think like, well, what if we brought some of that to the spaces that we're in, where we can be more creative, where we can be more generative to the people that
As we are coming to an end of such a great program, because the time just flew by like it was 2 minutes, I want to hear from you guys about after this this year and a half, and COVID is not going anywhere, right? How do we reset? How do we effectively reset? Because when you think about it, it has touched all of us in some form or fashion, whether you were on the front line, you lost a loved one, you knew someone that had it, you had it. How do we reset so that we can move ourselves forward? Rashida, come on and give it to us. You got to give it to us in 1 minute.
I think the beginning of resetting is right back to self-discovery. It's right back to figuring out who you are and who you want to be in this moment, in this time, with everything that's happened, using all of that to inform who is it that you really want to be and you want to show up as in the world. And when you get to that place of deciding, I'm going to figure this out, that's the place of freedom. That's the place where you can really begin to be who you are, and to do that, in authenticity and with the audacity of loving you just as you are. So self-discovery is going to be your number one reset, is deciding, who am I? How am I showing up? Do I like it? And if I don't, what am I doing about it?
Yeah. Yeah. Nicolette, how do we
I love
reset?
that.
How do we reset?
Everything Rashida said, and I would say grace. I think
Oh,
oftentimes
yes.
we extend more grace to others than we're willing to extend to ourselves.
Yeah.
It is okay that even though the science says you can do all the things, you may not be ready to. I am not ready to. Extending grace for where you are, loving yourself in the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and extending grace and understanding for the fact that there are reasons why you are where you are, and there's a purpose and a joy in that as well. So
Yeah.
to me, that's a big part of what we needed to get through this and what we need to move on from here.
Chandra and Jessica, how do we reset? Now it's up to you. I don't care who goes first. Either or. I mean, because it's all good. So how do we reset?
I think listening to what Nicolette and Rashida said, practical tacticals, you journal, you go to a therapist, you get a spiritual advisor, you get a group of friends
Amen.
you trust, you call Rashida, you get a coach. I mean, it's you have to make the step. I'll be willing to say I've done all of those things, except call Rashida. I'll call you tomorrow. Um, every
We
single
all
one.
will.
I think lastly, like just as Nicolette said, show yourself grace. Also give yourself gratitude. You know, I gained 20 pounds over COVID and I was like, you know what? I gotta let you go, COVID belly. So, but thank you, COVID belly, because you kept me comforted. You helped me. You were there for me. So whatever it is, show gratitude for ourselves for what we were able to endure.
Yeah. I would say in that same vein, this idea of creativity and play is so important. And I think we don't always give ourselves the invitation to really like go into our, childhood self and, our young person self and just play. I built things. I bought ridiculous things. I watercolored. I draw. I did yoga. I do a lot of things that I wanted to try, just never really thought I had the time or didn't think it really fit me. And so the invitation to be wildly imaginative, I think we started the conversation off, Mo was talking about innovation, to reinvent, to innovate for yourself, to imagine things how you'd like them today and realize that everything that you've gone through and everything that brought you to this particular moment was to invite you to have that question and to play with that question. That it
Yeah.
wasn't to set you up for anything other than to sit right in this moment and decide, what would I like today? What would give me deep joy and pleasure today? How do I invent and reinvent myself today? Because that is your soul's highest work and real purpose, is to just be in sheer delight with the enjoyment of living and experience that and get to know yourself. You become a better friend, a better person to yourself, the more you invest in loving and liking yourself.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. It's been,
Absolutely.
right at 8 o'clock, and I cannot tell you all what an amazing, amazing show that we had, and what a man, you just don't get opportunities like this, and to be in the presence of such greatness and have this robust, meaningful conversation, right? Meaningful. And to walk away, I am walking away right now. I am full. And it's because of you ladies. I am full. And I know that this will keep me fed on a spiritual high for at least the next week. And so I must say thank you. Thank you so much. And it's been such a pleasure. And again, just thank you. It's nothing more I can say, but thank you. I hope you all enjoyed our broadcast tonight. Thank you so much to blackdoctor.org. Thank you to the National Black Nurses Association. Dr. Millicent, we just appreciate you trusting us to handle this platform tonight. We love you so much for that. Jessica, Chandra, Nicolette, and Rashida, my sisters, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you so much. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
It was such a pleasure, you all.
This has been the most chilling, as Mo has said earlier. Thank you, Mo, for your moderating this fabulous panel. You are just a bomb.com yourself, my sister.
Thank you.
I
No,
just
thank
love it.
you.
And
Thank
now
you.
you know what I meant when I said to you earlier about how excited I was to talk with everybody. And it was such a robust conversation with lots of energy. So I want to thank you all for all that you all have done for the nurses and for those listening in the listening audience. I think that we've all are full and we have been fed. And now we're going to be fed by Avery Sunshine.
Yay.
So thank you all.
Here we go. Hello, sunshine. Hello, sunshine. Hello, sunshine. I'm so happy to see you shine. Hello, sun, I see you peeking through my blinds before I open my eyes. I feel your warmth on my face. You fix so perfectly in your place. So I sit up in my bed, say a prayer, then lean in and kiss his head. Thankful for another day. I know that everything's gonna go my way. So I say, hello, sunshine. Hello, sunshine. Hello, sunshine. I'm so happy to see you shine. Hello, sunshine. Hello, sunshine. Hello, hello. Yeah. I'm so happy to see you shine. Made it through the nights, and everything's gonna be alright. I know that joy comes in the morning light. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hello. I'm so happy to see you shine. Hey, hello. Hey, if you're feeling alright, say hello. Hello. Yeah, it's good to me. I'm so happy to see you shine. Hey, hey. Can I start by telling the truth? Tell it. We both know what it is to be with the wrong one. And I'm grateful to God for letting me do over a song I've already done. Yeah. So I find myself telling everybody, baby, what you tell. Ooh, I tell them how good you are. And sometimes I get so caught up in you, I forget to a star, and you'll never find a woman like me. I'm not the only one here who's lucky, yes, and you'll never find a woman like me. I'm not the only one here who's lucky, yeah. You're just as lucky as me. Ooh. You're just as lucky as me, baby. Just as lucky as me. Hey. Now I didn't say I wouldn't talk about how beautiful you are to me, yeah. So beautiful. And how you take care of me, and you're right there for me. How you even get down on your knees and you pray for me. I gotta make sure that we both know who's the lucky one. Hey, gotta make sure, yeah. 'Cause God broke the mold when God made me. And there's just no way, yeah, you'll ever find a woman like me. No, I'm not the only one here. Ooh, you'll never find, hey, no one like me. I'm not the only one here. Ooh, you're just as lucky as me. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Now listen here. Baby, I don't want to make you feel bad, you know. No. 'Cause I appreciate this love that we have, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'd be remiss if I didn't make myself real clear. I'm not the only lucky one. Yeah. No one like me. I'm not the only one here. Listen to me, baby. Can't nobody love you better than me. Can't nobody do you better than me. I'm the best girl you'll ever know. I'm the greatest love you'll ever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. You're just as lucky as me, baby. Ooh, yeah. You're just as lucky as me, baby. Let me say it one more time. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I know somebody out there knows what I mean. Ooh, yeah. Listen, my dear sisters, I know you know what I'm talking about. You know that kind of love where you know how lucky you are and you're so blessed to have the love that you're with. And then you look at them and you realize they just as lucky as you are, you know? So you say something like, you say, hey, you're just as lucky as me, baby. You just look at them like that. You do, then you close, you just, baby, you're just as lucky as me, yeah. Ooh, can't nobody love you better than me. Can't nobody do you better than me. I'm the best girl you'll ever know. I'm the greatest love you'll ever, yeah. Ooh, baby. Yeah. So, sisters, I met a man from Morehouse, and I married him, and I wrote this song just so he would know how much I loved him. I almost sang the same old tune too long, but you came right on in all sweet and strong. You are the perfect chord in my song. Yes, you are. Now I see I'm happier than I thought I could be. You're a miracle to me. I'd give up ice cream just for you. I'd sell my bags and give away my shoes. I'd give you my happy and take your blues. Yes, there ain't no telling what I do. They say that no one in the world could take me this high. It's so good I won't even question why. Let's take our love and go bye, 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 bye. Now I see I'm stronger than I thought I could be. Yes, you're a miracle to me. I give it all up, baby, just for you. I sell all my bags and give away my shoes. I'd give you my happy, baby, and take it all. There ain't no telling what I'd walk a million miles in my bare feet, and I'd even give you my last bit of food to eat. What I'm trying to say is there ain't no telling what I'd do. I'm so glad he hasn't asked me to. You are the perfect chord in my song. There ain't no telling. I've been waiting for lightning to strike, for my number to fall, and for my horse to come in, and an open door for me to walk in. And I've been waiting for my time to come, for the curtain to rise and someone to call my name. But I can't help feeling like something's gotta change. So I gotta keep moving, moving. 'Cause tomorrow is not guaranteed. Gotta keep moving, moving. I've been waiting on the world, and the world's been waiting on me. Hey. Come on, here's the second verse. Hey. Used to think if I waited long enough, my ship would come in and I just sail away. And everything would be okay. Oh, when I lived a bit and I got a word for humankind. Good things come to those who wait, but great things come to those who grind. Yes, and I'm not gonna miss my time to shine. So I gotta keep moving, moving. 'Cause tomorrow is not guaranteed. Gotta keep moving, moving. I've been waiting on the world, and the world's been waiting on me. Hey, I've been waiting on me, yeah. Hey, listen here. I've got somewhere. Even if I'm moving slow, it's better than not moving at all. Oh, can't nothing break my stride here. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, ooh, yeah, ooh, yeah, no, no. Hey, yeah. Ooh, yeah, ooh, yeah, ooh, I get moving. Hey, I get moving. 'Cause tomorrow is not guaranteed. Oh, I get moving. Oh, moving. I've been waiting on the world, and I've decided I'm not waiting no more. I'm moving, moving, hey, moving. So tomorrow is not guaranteed for you and me. Ain't no grass growing under my feet, so I'm gonna keep moving, 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 moving. Hey, I've been searching and I can't find one reason. No, I can't find one. Ooh, yeah, no. Hey, come on, y'all. Just keep on moving, moving, moving. I just keep on moving, moving. Hey, can't nobody find a reason. No, I've been waiting on the world, and the world's been waiting on me. My dear sisters, y'all keep moving, keep on praying, keep on loving, and definitely keep on shining. Hey, I just keep on, hey, I like that. Anybody wanna know? Get on the roof and today about something was flying in here. Did you see it? Sir.
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, National Black Nurses Association, keep on shining. The world is waiting on you. We want to thank Miss Avery Sunshine for that fabulous performance. Thank you, NBNA, for being with us this evening. Really appreciate your time. Thank you to our supporter sponsor, Johnson & Johnson. Thank you to the fabulous Mo Menard for keeping us on task, being the fabulous moderator, and to Rashida, Jessica, Chandra, and Dr. Nicolette. The world is waiting for you all. I loved it. We had a fabulous time. We want to thank everyone for being a part of it. Make sure you stay in touch with the National Black Nurses Association. You can always go to www.nbna.org. And a shameless plug for the NBNA's 50th anniversary celebration and our 49th annual Institute and Conference, August the 3rd through the 8th. Want to make sure you're going to be with us in our virtual conference. Stay tuned, and thank you, blackdoctor.org. We appreciate the partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great holiday weekend. Bye-bye.